And good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. It's actually sports night on the Pete Mezzetti Show tonight. And with me to discuss a vast array of sports-related issues is the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Z. Dan Zumpano. Hey, pal.
How you doing, Pete?
Good, Dan. How are you?
I'm feeling. Look, where else would I rather be on a Monday night than at the Pete Mezzetti Show?
Hanging out with Pete Mezzetti on a Monday night.
Exactly. It gets very electric in the room.
I was gonna say, it doesn't get any better from here.
I mean,
does it?
We'll find out over the next half an hour.
I was going to say, the only thing that would make it a little bit better is if John Clark and Gene Gums showed up.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no.
The band of brothers that would bring in here, I mean, goodness. You're talking about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's unbelievable.
No kidding. So, what's up, Dr. Z? How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well. It's been a kind of slower summer, typically, which is fine for me. That's how everybody wants it to be, because you come off of spring sports, and once you get through the fall and the winter time, especially local sports, going around in the local colleges and the local high schools, the spring is takes forever. So it's unbelievable. So when you get done with spring, it's like now we can breathe.
Exactly. We can hang out all summer.
Exactly. And we can hang out all summer. We do some fun things. I know me and you were obviously at the Morgan alumni lacrosse game the other night, which was a lot of fun. So you get to do fun things like that. But, once it comes to end of July, early August, things start to ramp up again, and we get ready for football and soccer and field hockey and volleyball and all the rest.
And lacrosse again in the spring.
Fall ball.
Yeah, that's
you got plenty of people, and fall ball, and not only lacrosse, but also in baseball too, and softball. All those sports come alive for a lot of those kids who really are specialized in that. But if we're talking high school level, it's definitely going to be a wild ride this year. But we're still chilling.
Yeah. But let's talk about high school sports and what's going to happen in the fall, obviously, with all the high school football games.
Yeah.
How are some of the local teams looking this year?
So I could tell you some of the local teams. Obviously, the Pequot had a really good year last year.
Yes.
Because they had a state final representative in HK.
Yes.
So HK, I will say that was a team that was very surprising that they made it all the way there.
Right.
But they did it, and congratulations to them.
Absolutely.
Stafford East Windsor Summers. That used to be Stafford East Windsor. I'm not sure if they all three of them are still in there. They change it every year, but had a great year. I believe Brian Mazzone is the coach up there, and they do a great job up there. But again, it's going to be competitive as usual. You'll have your Valley Regionals. Your Cromwells will be very lucrative, obviously, and very tough. Even Old Saybrook is going to have Old Saybrook Westbrook will have a tough team last year. They had a couple of good wins last year, and we'll see if Morgan can improve as well. So it's going to be definitely an exciting year. Obviously, we know Morgan's got Pete Nye coaching over there,
absolutely,
and JP Nye quarterback, and that's obviously going to be a big talking point throughout the season. So
JP Nye graduated, actually.
JP Nye graduated from last year.
Yeah.
Right. So he's created a lot of hype.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see how they replace him.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they're going to have a good season this year.
Yeah. I think they'll be better. We'll see.
And we're also coming off of spring sports, including the local lacrosse aspect of things. Let's talk about that.
So if we go back to the lacrosse season, you've got, again, a very competitive Shoreline Conference where you had Old Lyme, which actually Old Lyme was a little bit more down than I thought. They had a very good defensive team, won a lot of close games, obviously, but the kind of powerhouses at B this year were North Branford and Morgan.
Yep.
And Morgan has to go on that run. They beat HK 3 times.
Yes.
And then lose to them in the state in the state tournament. North Branford, I believe, beat Morgan 3 times this year. Was it?
Correct. That's
and
correct.
They have a great coach, Dave Carpenter, down at North Branford, that they just implemented a very kind of rough style, but they are really, really well coached. And they just ran into a buzzsaw in St. Joe's in the first round of the state tournament. But Morgan, very competitive, obviously, this year. A lot of good players. Brendan Highland, obviously, we know, does a great job over there.
I've never heard of him.
Nah. You claim not to know him?
Nope.
There you go.
Never met the man before.
He did an excellent job.
He's a great guy.
Great guy. Obviously, they've built that program up for the last, almost 20 years now.
Yep.
And HK had a pretty good year. They had a couple of good kids, obviously, on the team, and they were able to finally, it's hard to beat a team 3 times, let alone 4 times.
I know.
And the fact that was the first round of states, kind of a frustrating game, but a lot of teams have a lot of players. I know Morgan's got like 14 freshmen coming in.
Yeah.
North Branford will be good again because they're so well coached. We'll see if Old Lyman Valley can improve this year. But it was a very good year for the Shoreline teams. And not too far from the Shoreline, you have Bacon Academy out of Colchester.
Colchester, absolutely.
Getting to the state finals, which is an incredible feat for them to get there. And obviously St. Joe's does what they do and they win the Class S. But, credit to Bacon Academy for having such a great year, too. And then, obviously, in Class M, the bigger schools like New Fairfield and Class L and Darien taking those crowns. So in the boys lacrosse, very good year.
Yeah, definitely. Now, how's the show going for you?
The show.
Grind Time.
So Grind Time Sports, obviously on Sports Country Radio.
I was going to say, we got to shout out to Sports Country Radio.
I know, we do. We already mentioned him.
Right.
Gene Gums,
what's his name again?
Yeah, exactly. He's the pastrami to my rye, as we like to say, all that stuff.
Yeah. Ham and turkey.
Yeah, ham and turkey. So the first time I mentioned that on the air, I said ham and turkey, pastrami and rye, and X-Lax to my constipation. So that was one of the things that I had said, and it went out on the air, and people got a kick out of it.
Oh, good.
So it was nice. But he's doing very well, and the show's doing very well.
Yeah,
we just finished a full year. 52nd episode. So we do 1 episode a week.
Yep.
52 episodes we just got through. So we did a full year. We had our first year done, and it's amazing the things that we just did. You can go on our SoundCloud page, obviously, which is our linked on Facebook at Grind Time Sports, on Twitter at GrindTime_sport, and you can go look at that. We just did a best of the year, which we have some great interviews. We did a lot of crazy stuff. Obviously, we do cover multitude of sports, but it was a lot of football, a lot of free agency basketball. Look, we're just a bunch of 20-something-year-old hooligans trying to talk about sports and having fun with it. And I think that's one of the cool parts about our show is that we're a younger crowd. We keep it light. We keep it like what is the actual social media kind of world talking about? Because that's our world.
Exactly.
We're the 20-somethings. Like, we are the next generation of how sports are going to be covered.
Exactly.
So, when you look at that, you say to yourself, a lot of the times it's kind of very loose cannon. You can kind of get a lot of opinionated, but it's just a couple of run-of-the-mill guys. We don't claim to be anything bigger than anybody else.
Right.
Talking about sports, and it's great. So you can go listen out. We're on Fridays, 4 o'clock on Sports Country Radio.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say, you're on Friday afternoons at 4 o'clock on Sports Country Radio. And the gentleman at Sports Country Radio also runs the audio version of the Pete Mezzetti Show.
Right,
and
exactly.
I'm on Saturday nights from 6 to 7 on Sports Country Radio every week.
Yeah, exactly. And so you guys obviously have a good rapport, between them. I don't know how he listens to you every week, but he just must drive himself crazy. And the fact that he listens to me, I'm surprised with you. It's crazy. But
I was going to say, wait till he listens to this audio this week when we send the file up.
We got to bust his chops a little bit. But Gene's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He does a lot of good work with Sports Country, and then obviously his work with WCNX Radio, they partnered with John Clark has been tremendous in expanding high school sports so that people can listen. It's about the kids. It's about people being able to listen to kids. And these kids get recruited off of some of these radio broadcasts that we do. Yeah. And they get a lot of traction on the Connecticut, sports beat scene from a lot of the writers and the TV people, obviously, which I know pretty well and, have gotten to know over the last 3 to 5 years of working in it. So it's a really good cause. So Gene, John, they're all really, really good guys that care about the kids.
Exactly. Exactly. And how's our friend Megan DeVille?
Megan DeVille. So obviously remember Megan DeVille from Mercy. But
right. Absolutely. From
what I understand, still at Central.
Yep.
And she has not pursued basketball, which obviously she was big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yep.
When she was back at Mercy High School. So she is not. I know her teammate Bella Santoro, and I believe Sam Chaps when she was there at Mercy. Now, obviously, Mercy didn't have the year that they wanted to last year.
No.
But coming off of a state championship.
Yeah, right. No.
But they made it pretty deep into states. And I believe it was Norwalk that they played pretty close, and Norwalk ended up winning the state final against New London in a crazy buzzer beater of a game in New London's at Mohegan Sun. So New London had a ton of people there.
Yeah.
And so Megan is obviously going to be part of the staff, part of the help on WCNX. So that's going to be really good for her.
Absolutely.
And getting to see how it is on the media side of things.
Who's the coach of Mercy girls basketball?
Tim Coase.
What's he like?
Tim Coase is a lunatic. Like, that's one way to describe him, but he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Tim Coase, great guy. But I've never seen a man turn more red quicker in my life. He's a screamer. But you know what? He gets the most out of every player that he has. Every single year. And he got a ton out of this team this year.
Yeah.
A ton out of this team. He had a very special team in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
That was a very, very special team that was building and building and building with Bella and Sam and Megan. And Tim Coase, to me, is one of the great basketball minds in the entire state. No question about it. So him, the coach at New London, the coach at Capital Prep, the coach at Norwalk. I mean, there's a ton of great coaches, and I'm missing a million of them.
That's okay.
But, he's right up there with the top brass.
Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide. It provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
unfiltered,
reliable, and yours.
You're doing great. We're going to try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep pedaling.
Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show, sitting here with Dr. Z. Dan Zumpano. Sir, welcome back, my friend.
Always good to be here, Pete.
Always good to have you here, my friend. All right, so we talked about basketball and high school basketball in the first segment and other high school stuff in the first segment. Let's open this segment talking about what's going on the college level and what's going on with the Big East.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our local giant network school,
yes,
UConn,
right,
is moving back to the Big East, as so it appears.
Right.
I think it's in the 2021 season. I can't remember exactly what season.
I think so. I don't remember that.
Either way, they're moving back.
Yes.
Which is a great move, because it ignites some of the old rivalries. Villanova, St. John's, Georgetown, Providence, to name a few.
Right.
Now, Danny Hurley is building that program, and we're just obviously exclusively talking about basketball.
Right.
Danny Hurley is obviously building that program up. It needs a revival. It needs it bad.
Right.
There was an advocation by Mike DeMoro, who posed for the New London Day, that he would approve of UConn dropping football. I believe that's him, and if I'm wrong, Mike, I believe that's exactly what he was talking about.
Okay.
UConn dropping football. I would totally be at the place that they are now, dropping the FCS or dropping the club or something, and putting in like a lacrosse program.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, UConn's got a hotbed of lacrosse recruiting right in its own backyard, and already have a great club team that's playing down in the MCLA Division I doing quite well.
Really?
So, absolutely.
I didn't know that.
So they are doing well. I mean, the way football is right now, and they'll never cancel football.
No.
They just won't do it. But, I mean, the amount of money that was lost by the athletics this year was crazy. So a drastic thing had to be made. A drastic move had to be made.
Right.
And obviously, the move to the Big East is great for basketball, and it revives the men's basketball team.
Right.
Could revive a little bit of the women's basketball team too, because they get better competition.
Yeah.
And they also, women's basketball hasn't, they didn't win it this year.
No.
Obviously. So, we'll have to see exactly what kind of dollars and cents that brings in, if it helps the program as a whole. But right now, I think it has been celebrated as a move that will bring back a lot of the nostalgia from the the late 90s, early 2000s teams. What will it do for football? Because there is no Big East.
Right. We don't know.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Speaking of your broadcasting career, you also covered a vast array of spring sports for the Coast Guard Academy.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
So I guess you could call me the voice of the Lady Bears, I guess you could say. And we don't even refer to them as Lady Bears, but the women's lacrosse team. Obviously, when we last spoke,
yes,
we were in the thrall of women's basketball season after getting off the football season. So now we went to women's lacrosse.
Yeah, that's right.
And they had
How'd they do?
They had an okay year. Around 500. They had a playoff game. Made the playoffs. Did not win. But that is a program that hasn't been around for that long. And Mary Henneberry has been building that program up. And they're getting better and better. They had a ton of sophomores that were really, really good, and freshmen that were really, really, really good. And a lot of those girls thrive. And I can't wait to see them next year, because next year I feel like they are really going to thrive. Babson is just such a good team in the new MAC that the Coast
Babson
Guard
in Boston.
Yeah. And they're such a good team that it was definitely a rebuilding and improving year.
Okay.
And they were about 500. So they had a solid year. The men did fantastic.
Did they?
The men, I believe, had a 14-2 regular season record.
Oh my goodness.
And made it all the way to the new MAC final. So they were one game away from the NCAA tournament, and they did not win in the championship game on their home turf, which was big bummer. It was a big bummer, but Ray LaForte will come back. Obviously, he's got football season because he's got a coach there, but when he comes back in the spring, I think they'll be really, really, really solid. And maybe, who knows? They played Wesleyan this year, was very, very good, and Wesleyan put a hurt into them. But that's another program, building, and it's not always about the athletics. Obviously, at Coast Guard, it's obviously being a part of something way bigger than themselves. They're making a big sacrifice for their country, and that's a huge thing. And obviously, we're big advocates and thank them for it. But it's a lot of fun going down to New London, and it's a great place to watch a lacrosse game or a football game.
I've never been.
Cadet Memorial Field. In fact, they just redid the entire field.
They did.
So now the whole field, brand new field. If there's a year to come down to Cadet Memorial Field, it's this year.
Really?
It's going to be a lot of fun. Football season will be very electric. And I'm understanding they have new orange turf in the end zones now, which will be a very exciting thing to see in the fall with all the foliage.
I was going to say, are you doing football this year?
Yes. So we'll be back and do football with the sports doctor, Keith O'Brien, from New London Day.
Okay.
From Game Day.
Okay.
And he'll be back as the voice of the Bears, and we're really excited. Obviously, Bill George is going to have the Bears ready. I believe they had their first winning season since 2012 last year, I believe. And just really, really stepped up, had some great wins. Obviously, the game for the Cup, Ryan Jones, the quarterback, taken in at the 1-yard line, was on fourth down. Crazy plays.
Who'd they play for the Cup?
I believe it's Norwich University.
Come on.
Now I'm blanking now.
Tell me.
I'm blanking now.
Tell me.
I don't want to say it if it's going to be wrong.
It.
Vermont?
Northfield, Vermont.
Northfield, Vermont.
How do I know?
How do you know that?
That's where my brother went to school.
Oh, very cool.
My brother went to Norwich.
Fantastic. I was thinking Vermont in my head the whole time. I was doubting myself. But it's a nice school.
It's about, just to give you a quick proximity of things, it's about 20 minutes, half hour south of Ben and Jerry's in Waterbury.
Well, that's not a bad place to go to school then, is it?
No, definitely not. But it's in the middle. It's a nice town, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
which is okay.
Well, I mean, Vermont's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But, you know, what are you going to say?
Exactly.
But, no, it was a really cool game, and they're just going to build off of that. Justin Moffett will come back at wide receiver. I mean, Justin Money Moffett, we called him last year. Every time on third down, that guy needed a first down. They got it to him.
Nice.
So it's going to be, they're going to have a lot of talent coming back. Football is going to be very, very exciting. And the Merchant Marine game this year is at Coast Guard. So it's going to be a great thing. Last year, I believe it was on ESPN3 last year. So it will probably be, hopefully, be on that again this year. No confirmations.
Cool.
We'll see.
I was going to say, is the football schedule for the Coast Guard Academy out yet?
I believe, yes. It's on their website, uscgasports.com. Okay. I believe they have the first three games on the road. I think they open September 28th.
I'll have to get a look at the schedule. Maybe
we'll have to get you.
Maybe come to a game.
Get you a VIP pass.
I'm going to say maybe come to the game. Maybe I'll bring pastrami with me.
Oh, well then I might not be able to go on the air.
Oh, come on!
I'll be too full.
Exactly. So, how did you guys get the idea of the show, of your show on the radio in Sports Country?
Well, we had an idea based on the fact that, you know, I have a bunch of buddies. I was at the radio station at Southern Connecticut State University, WSIN Radio, and we had been doing sports radio for 3 years. And my buddy Chris Raza, who we talked about in the beginning, who also is on Sports Country every once in a while, every Friday on the wake up call. Yeah. Every Friday morning. Me and him decided to do a show for WTNH, News Channel 8. Mm-hmm. And when that whole thing, Sports Edge and everything, went out the window at Channel 8, we needed a new platform. And obviously our buddy Gene Gumbs said, we would love you to do a podcast on our program, and he gave us a time slot. And I just had the idea. It was just something that was going on in my life at the time. My theme for 2018 was embrace the grind. Right. That was my theme. And I said to myself, I want to do a show and name it after the theme for my life, that how I'm going to live this year. And embrace the grind became it, and grind time became kind of thing. And the mantra of the show is embrace the grind. And we just came up with it. We said, look, let's just do our show that we've been doing for 3 years. And we'll do it for an hour, hour and a half, and now it's grown into an hour and a half show. 54 episodes later, you know, we're still kicking. Goodness. So it's been a wild time. And you know what my favorite part is heading over down to New Haven where we broadcast and getting some good old-fashioned pizza.
There you go.
A couple pizzas and beers and just talking about sports.
There you go.
You know. I mean, how can you get any better?
Life is good.
Life is good, Pete.
Life is good.
Life is good. So
what else do we want to talk about in the world of sports?
You know, it's interesting. We talked about there's a lot of stuff going on. Women's World Cup was big time this week. Mm-hmm. Wimbledon was big time this week. Serena Williams got a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. That match on Sunday between Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer was unbelievable.
It was. I saw that.
The 5-set match. That was one of the great matches. I think that it matched, and with Fed having 2 match points and not being able to come up with it, that one might have been up with the Bjorg-McEnroe final of 1980 and the Nadal-Federer final of 2008 of how good it actually was. Right. The Women's World Cup, what a story that is.
Oh yeah, totally.
And there's a lot of controversy going on between a lot of things, you know, and involved in that. And I just say to that, you know what, look what that team accomplished. They gave up, 1 goal in the whole tournament?
Yeah, exactly.
They beat England on 4th of July week in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That doesn't get more American than that.
No,
sipping the
definitely
tea. You know, they're sipping the tea over there, and then they beat the Netherlands in the final. And that's such a big thing. It's amazing. I had my sister who lives in Seattle. She went to the 2015 World Cup final in Vancouver.
Really?
And she said she teared up because it was the first time that she had seen a women's sports event have a full capacity stadium. And I thought about that, and I said, it really is amazing how much strides that the Women World Cup, and yes, is it more watched than the men's? No. Like, we get it. Like, you know, do they make more money than the men? No, they don't.
Right.
And maybe they have a good case because the men lose in the Gold Cup final.
Yeah, no kidding.
But for what that is and what they represent for young girls around the world and around the United States, I mean, you don't think about it as a guy sometimes,
right?
But it's an unbelievable feat for what they were able to accomplish. That's what I could say.
Wow.
So
very cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Definitely.
Yes.
Before we say goodnight, we have a little bit more time left. Show for Grind Time is on when? And
Show
where?
for Grind Time is on sportscountry.net, which is the Sports Country Radio website.
Okay.
4 o'clock on Fridays. You can also listen on our SoundCloud at Grind Time Sports on Facebook and Twitter.
Right.
And then, of course, you know, obviously doing some work with the Coast Guard. That'll be later down in the fall. And maybe some stuff with Yale. And you know what? CT Sports Now, which was a great show this week with the great man Noah Fins, of course.
I thought you were talking about the great man Pete Mezzetti.
Well, you know, Pete, yeah. We could talk about you all night. But Noah Fins is the man.
Oh, yeah.
And CT Sports Now, what coverage we had of high school sports and college sports this year, unbelievable. And I hope to be working with them next year as well, so that'll be cool.
Dr. Dan Zumpano, thanks. We'll see you again soon.
Pete, it is always a pleasure. I'll come on anytime.
You got it. On behalf of Dan Zumpano, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks. Good night. We'll see you next time.